So the first thing that we will do is create a new layer and call it Sketch. And the naming of the layer is optional, so don't bother if you don't want to. Next, we will choose a brush, and in the next step, we will be drawing a rough sketch of our Pokemon. So it really doesn't matter what kind of brush you're using. You could use a sketch brush, you could use an ink brush, maybe something like a texture brush or a brush with soft edges isn't the optimal choice, but other than that, just go with what you're comfortable with. And color-wise, I'm going with baby blue, but you could use red, green, purple, gray, orange. Just choose your favorite color because, like I said, with the brushes, we're just doing a rough sketch and we're going to do the clean line art afterwards with black. So yeah, you can just use the setting you're comfortable with and you're good to go. When drawing characters, I really like to start with the head because it really helps the dynamic and the motion of the image when you know in which direction your character is facing. So we'll start with a basic circle for the head and a vertical guideline. And this vertical guideline is the symmetric center of the face, which means that everything on the left side is mirror inverted to the right. Pokemon, just like other animals and humans, are symmetrical from different angles, different view angles, like the front, top, back, and bottom, not so much from the sides. So that's why we are drawing this vertical guideline that will help us. Next, we will draw a horizontal guideline, and on this guideline is where the eyes lie. So I'll show you some examples why I draw these two guidelines. So let's create a new layer for some examples, and let's say your character is looking to the left. Then your horizontal guideline stays unchanged, and your vertical guideline, the symmetric center, curves to the left like this. And you see you already get this three-dimensional look, and everything on the right side here, this is where you see most of the head, and everything on the left side, this is where everything is kind of like squished together and bulges towards the back or disappears. So for example, if you would draw an ear, then you wouldn't see this ear on the left side because it is bulged towards the back to the other side of the head, which isn't visible. So let's draw another example. Let's say your character is looking to the upper left. Then your vertical guideline, the symmetric center, is the same like in the example above. It curves to the left like this. And your horizontal guideline, where the eyes are, curves up like this. And everything on the bottom right here, this is where you see most of the head, and everything on the upper left, this is where everything is squished together and bulges towards the back, or where it is squished together the most. And let's do a last example. So let's say your character is facing in the bottom right direction. Then we would kind of like invert this second example. So your vertical guideline curves to the right like this, and your horizontal guideline curves towards the bottom like this. So I hope you get what I'm trying to explain. So let's delete this layer and move on with our sketch. So next we will draw this weird bean-like shape for the body, an oval for the left arm, an oval for the right arm, some little ovals for the feet, and these almond shapes for the ears. And last but not least, the iconic ziggity zaggity tail. And maybe, just maybe, you know what Pokemon we're drawing. So once you have the basic shape of your Pokemon, then it's time to add some details. And this is still a sketch phase, so you don't have to be too precise, but you shouldn't be too sloppy either. So let's start by drawing a nose, then the right eye with this reflection dot, the left eye with a reflection dot, and a very happy mouth with a tongue. I kind of believe this is the happiest Pokemon ever. Then we will refine the shape of the cheeks and draw these cheek dots. And add these separators up here for the black spots on the ear. Then we will add the tiny fingers and the tiny toes. The zigzag for the tail. And we're done. Next comes one of my favorite steps, inking. And for this we will choose an inking brush, which is a pressure sensitive brush, and the color black. And what does a pressure sensitive brush mean? So if you're using and this will only work if you're using a graphic tablet or a tablet screen like a Cintiq, when you're drawing with this brush, the more pressure you add when drawing, the thicker the lines get, and if you take pressure off, then the lines get thinner. So this kind of brush really helps if you're doing line art, because you don't want every line to be the same size or thickness, because then the image just would look boring and stiff. And with some different brush sizes, it gives more life to the image or to the line art. It sounds weird, but it's true. It really makes a difference. So the first thing that we will do is take off the opacity of our sketch layer down to about 30%. And then we will create a new layer and call it ink. And the same as with the sketch layer, the naming of the layer is optional, so don't bother if you don't want to, but in the end it really helps when you know which layer you're working with. So let's zoom in a bit. Choose our brush, maybe 20 pixels is a bit better, and then start drawing the nose, the bright eye. And when you're doing line art, really take your time and undo a step and redo it, because you really want your line art to be clean, and take your time. And I also have a video where I show which brush, how you can create this brush. You can also download it, so go check that video out. See, I'm going back like 3 times just to make this perfect, so really take your time. And you can see how I'm using the different brush sizes. So up here it's like thinner, and here it's getting thicker. Just have to get a feeling for it, what works best. Let's do this shape here. So I kind of like to do outlines a bit thicker and everything inside a bit thinner. And if you're moving towards an end, then I like the lines to get thinner. Here to the top of the head. And you see, I didn't follow the line exactly, because as I said, it's just a sketch, and you can do the refining, the more detailed stuff when you're doing the line art. This is just kind of like you have to see a sketch as a guideline, just a guide where things are like roughly to be, and then you can refine afterwards with when you're inking. And sometimes if you have to do like this shape here, you see I would have to move like if I wanted to do this line right here, and I'm drawing on my big sized tablet, then you would have to move all across the tablet to get from here to here, and that could hurt the preciseness of your movement. So if you zoom out a bit, then you have like half the way to go, and you have more control in your wrist than in your complete arm. So it's easier to draw this curve if you're zoomed out a bit sometimes. It also helps if you like rotate the canvas, but I'm not a fan of that. So, but you can do it if it helps. Then let's go over here and draw the left arm. And then the right arm. And do one section at a time. So do one arm, do the other arm, do the head, but don't jump around, like do one eye, then go to the tail, go back to an arm, stuff like that. Don't do that. It's just a huge distraction, and it keeps you stay focused if you concentrate or focus on one section at a time. Let's go down here, leave this little open spot. Move on to the feet. And the tail. All right, zoom out, and then we're going to do our, oh, forgot something, these zigzags down here. All right, zoom out, and then let's do the final step. All right, so in the last step, I would like to create a bold outline for the, for the outline of my character, of my Pokemon. So first we will disable the sketch layer. Disable this grid here, and select your wizard tool. Is it wizard? Is it wand? I don't know. Magic wand tool. And have your ink layer selected, and then click with your magic wand tool outside of your Pokemon, and click everywhere outside of your Pokemon. And then go up here, select modify. Not modify, sorry. Where is it? Inverse, up here, inverse. And that inverts the selection. So before it was on the outside, now it's your Pokemon. Then go up here to select again, modify, and expand. And we will expand by 8 pixels. Then create a new layer. Go over here to your bucket tool, paint bucket tool, and have your black color, your ink color selected, and then just click inside here. Then go up here again, select modify, contract, and then you have to contract by 2 pixels more, or 2 pixels more than what you expanded it by. So we expanded it by 8, and 2 pixels more means 10. If you know why exactly, I have a tutorial on that, go check it out. You can see it on the left here, and then hit OK. And now you see that these moving ants contracted towards the inside, and then just hit delete and pull this layer down to ink layer. So if you if you merge these two together, you don't have to rename the ink layer again, and zoom in. And the only downside to this technique is that you have to do these like very pointy spots. You have to go back and fill them in, but oops, this is way faster than drawing the complete outline again by hand. So just check all the corners of your line art of your Pokemon. Fill in these white spots. And why I like to do this bold outline, it just, I don't know, it separates the character, the Pokemon, more from the background. We don't have a background here, but it just separates it more, and it pops more. It's more present, so that's why I like to do that. It's also a common comic style, so hooray, hooray, we're done, we're finished. That's how you draw a Pokemon. I hope you enjoyed the video. This is a basic tutorial, so I'm gonna draw all the other Pokemon using these same techniques that I used in this video. But those videos will be time-lapsed and won't be narrated. And once you understand the techniques that I showed you in this video right here, you won't have any problems following these steps in the time-lapse versions. And in the next video, I will show you how to color up this bad boy. So if you want to see that, click on the link, go check it out. And once again, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Thanks for watching, and see you guys soon.